Welcome back. All right, news of the day for all you fine people on the internet for your Sunday, December the 3rd. Starting off with Chicago news and notes. Gutman is returning to the lineup. Reichel will be a healthy scratch today, so we'll see how long that goes on for. If Reichel ends up being demoted at some point so he can get more ice time, or what's going to happen. Chicago, of course, it's been a pretty predictably rough season for them on the ice, but it's a matter of making sure your young players are developing properly. So we'll see what happens with Reichel. Beauvillier won't be in the lineup today against Minnesota. He is still dealing with his visa issue, so he was able to play in Winnipeg because he has a Canadian work visa currently, but he needs the American work visa, which can take a little while to get. But once he's got it, he can play for Chicago no matter where they're playing. All right, Tony DeAngelo. So DeAngelo has been out of the lineup for Carolina for 6 straight games. He's been a healthy scratch. And so the question gets asked, at what point in time do Carolina look to move a defenseman, or do you just hold on to the extra guys you have because you know injuries are going to take place on your blue line? I do think if they're able to use their blue line to maybe shore up their goaltending a little bit, but again, we'll see what they do. At least Kochetkov had a nice bounce back game last night. Other than the one goal where he's caught out of the net, sure, but outside of that, he had a good bounce back game. Speaking of that, though, the game that they won was against Buffalo, and Buffalo's having a hard time of it. Dylan Cozens speaking out and saying that the team is too easy to play against, and using the word soft, which I think gets tossed around a little bit too much in NHL circles. But I will say this, being easy to play against, yeah, Buffalo's definitely had that. It's one of those frustrating things where teams are just able to, get through the neutral zone without much trouble, get set up in the offensive zone, get those prime chances, all those shots on net. It's something Buffalo's definitely dealing with. And for me, watching Buffalo this year has been frustrating because I was really hoping this would be the year that they turned it around and made the playoffs. And while they're certainly capable of turning it around and making the playoffs, I am starting to have serious doubt about whether or not they will. So last season, I was very outspoken on how I believe this team was better than the record. This year, I'm not saying it because I don't know if they are better than the record right now, but they need to be better is what needs to happen. So, and also, to his credit, Cozens admitted he is part of the problem and he needs to be tougher to play against as well. So, things not great in Buffalo right now. Mark Pysyk has signed a 1-year, 2-way contract with the Calgary Flames. So $775,000 at the NHL level, $350,000 at the AHL level. The good thing with Pysyk is he can play up front. He can play on the blue line as well, so he can do a little bit of everything. And I do think that he's a solid addition for the Calgary Flames. He's simply a depth defenseman with the trading of Zadorov that helps to make up for that trade-off in your depth. So whether he ends up playing with the Wranglers or playing with the Flames, or if he's just going to be that extra defenseman, we'll see. But I think Pysyk's a good signing. So I was reading an article on Leo Carlsson today because this whole load management, watching his number of games played is interesting. And reading through it, it sounds like Leo and his agent and everybody, they're on board. The idea being on the days that Carlson's not in the lineup for the Ducks, that they give him a lot of workouts. They're working on his strength. Doing their best to make sure that when he does play, he plays those tough minutes, and they're doing it to make sure that the big picture is seen. So we always look at rookie seasons and Calder trophies and all that as being really, really important. But what Pat Verbeek is looking at is the overall career arc for Leo Carlsson and wanting to make sure that he gets off to a really strong start. And he feels that in order to do so, this is the best way for that to happen. So I do think it's interesting, and if it works with Leo Carlsson, if Carlsson ends up being a better player in the long term after they've done this, or even if he just has a really strong rookie season and it translates into a good sophomore year as well, don't be surprised if other teams might look to copy it. That is usually the way things work in the NHL. One team tries something and we all say, I don't know, that seems crazy, and then other teams see that it worked, and all of a sudden it becomes sort of an accepted thing. Look at Jack Eichel going through a disc replacement. I think if there's another player that came out tomorrow and said, hey, I'd like to have a disc replacement, I don't think we'd bat an eye because Eichel's quite good. He's playing well. And he's not the only NHL player now that's had a disc replacement surgery. It's also happened to another. So, see, these things can happen and things change. So, will other teams take that same route with the development of players that the Ducks are taking with Carlson? And he looks really good. He helped them get the win last night. Elliot Friedman reporting that Pettersson met with Patrick Allvin. Nothing official. They're not talking contract. Just Allvin letting him know, hey, we want to keep you around. And as soon as you're ready to talk contract, we're ready to talk with you. So that's good news. It sounds like everything's going well on the Pettersson Canucks front. The one thing to keep an eye on is if the Vancouver Canucks did start falling in the standings, if they're closer to that playoff line, would that change Pettersson's thought process here? I don't think so. I think Pettersson's going to stick around. I think it's a matter of whether he signs a 4-year deal or a 7 or 8-year deal. And I think that's where the question mark is. Will he sign a short-term deal? Again, to me, 4 years is a long time, but by today's contract standards, it's a short period. Will he want 4 or will he want the full 8? And of course, if he wants the full 8, it's going to be more expensive than if he wants the 4 when you're talking about cap hits. And finally, Connor McDavid. Congratulations to Connor McDavid on being inducted into Canada's Walk of Fame. If you're like, Canada has a Walk of Fame, yep, it's the whole country. There's random spots across the country. I'm just kidding. But yes, there is a Walk of Fame in Canada. Connor McDavid being inducted. I thought that was kind of nice, so I wanted to close it out on that note, because there's been a lot of drama and negativity lately when we look at news around the hockey world, and I figured, it's something positive. We'll throw that on the board. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.